Hello there. Good morning, good afternoon, or good evening. No matter where you're calling from, it's great to see you coming into today's session. And I love seeing the familiar names amongst you here. So if this is not your first time to a Waybook product update, which I don't think there's many names in here that I'm not recognizing so far. So welcome back. It's great to see you again. If this is your first time, then welcome. This is at least my favorite part of the month. And actually, hopefully by the end of today's session, you'll find out why, particularly because I'm really excited about this session. There's one thing in here that I'm trying to hold back my excitement because I've been wanting to share it with many of you for a really long time. And today is the day. It is a sneak peek. We're not going to see it all, but it is a sneak peek. And as well as that, we're also going to see quite a few other bits that is coming into or in your Waybook account already or up until we go. So this is our last session of the season of the year. Obviously, being December, we have whizzed through 2024 without even blinking, and we're super excited to continue to start strong in 2025. But in today's session, what we will cover is the update to the Microsoft Teams app, the new and improved search, which is on all of your accounts. You've probably seen it, but I just want to give you a bit of an orientation into what it is and how it works. We've made some tweaks to the reviews and the approvals cycle. And now actually we've optimized how these two systems work together. These are relatively newly updated. So actually it would be great to kind of just give you a recap in terms of what's there and how they work most effectively together. And then finally, the sneak peek is something that we're calling Context. So Context is a super exciting initiative that we've got here at Waybook. It's been something that we've been working at quite a lot in the background. And yeah, we're going to give you your first view of that today and hopefully get it out to you in the coming weeks as well. So, without further ado, let's just kind of do the standard housekeeping. There's quite a few of you on today's call, so feel free to say hello in the chat and share where you're calling from. And yeah, just feel free to say hello. You have the fantastic Sophia in the background, so she's there to kind of answer any thoughts or questions that you've got. If you did want to ask any questions, please do put it in the chat. I will keep my eyes on as many different screens as I possibly can. So yeah, please feel free to put it in the chat, and I will of course keep this as interactive as we possibly can. If you wanted to ask a specific question, didn't want it to get lost in the chat, feel free to put it in the Q&A panel, and I will also keep an eye on that. So for those of you saying hello back, Erin from Minneapolis, great to see you. Hello, Emily from Iowa, Kathy from Sarasota. We've got a good spread of the US there. I don't know if there's any other Brits on the call, but if there are, say hello as well. So let's begin. Let's begin strong, and let's just start with the Microsoft Teams app. Now, Microsoft Teams we know is the chat choice or the system of choice for many Waybook businesses. We do have a very similar app that connects directly to your Slack if you are in the Slack side of worlds like we are. But the Microsoft Teams app have had an entirely a total overhaul on our side. So if you do use the Teams app, then you will notice that changing as soon as you do the update, which should be relatively automatic. And if you use Teams and you use Waybook and you haven't integrated it, welcome. The world of this integration will kind of really benefit your use of both of the tools. So the reason why we wanted to focus on this was because one of the key things we like to focus on here is to just remove that friction between you and your team. So by removing that friction between you and your team, between your team and their knowledge, we basically want to make it easier for people to ask Waybook rather than asking you and having those repetitive questions of tribal knowledge and slowing things down. So in order to do that, we know it's really important to integrate your knowledge into your existing workflow already. And that's why we're very keen to make sure that we have the browser extension, the mobile apps, the Teams app, the Slack apps, things like that. Now, what this is, the change that we've done is before you would kind of get a snippet of your Waybook. So before you would just be able to integrate it in the chat, then it was optimized so you can get a view of your dashboard. Now, in your Teams app, you can literally do everything. It is the full Waybook app within your Teams app. So everything is at your fingertips and incredibly powerful. So this is actually available to everyone. It's out now. You can actually access it by either going to the Microsoft Teams store, the integration store, and actually just installing Waybook and connecting the two together. And you can see here on the slide, you'll be able to literally just see on your Teams organization, you will have a Waybook tab, and that Waybook tab will literally be everything. You can literally see everything within there. Now, there's two other ways that you can integrate that. So obviously on mobile, it works really well. So you can see how you would connect into that from your Teams. And then the other thing, and this is one thing that I particularly love, and this is how we use Waybook on our Slack as well, is if anybody asks you a question or you want to find that document and you're in full conversation and full flow, instead of actually just, having to go to Waybook or searching somewhere else or trying to remember what the information was called, you can literally hit the button within a chat, search your Waybook, and then share that specific document. So you're really staying kind of on and focused on that information. So we're really excited about that. That is out there, and we know from the people that are using the Teams app already have seen that increase in value across the board. Number two, the second thing we're going to be covering today has been a bit of a labor of love of ours internally, and this is Search V2. So you may have noticed, if you are an avid searcher of your Waybook, that it has looked quite different over the last week. And this has been slowly tested and rolled out to different accounts, so it should now be with everybody. The reason why we wanted to focus on search was because, as I mentioned before, what we try and do is to make it easier for your team to ask Waybook than that is to ask you. So yes, you'll still have all of your great conversations, but we want you to be that second line of defense or requirement. People should always know where the information is, and they should always be able to get the answers to their question in a really clear and consistent way. The other reason why we wanted to do that is because when Waybook first started, the main reason that people use search for, or Waybook, was to search for stuff. And then, as you'll be very familiar, Waybook now has the powerful AI Ask feature, so you can integrate and have these conversations with different people. With your content. But sometimes it wasn't certain whether or not you should search for something or ask for something. So now we have integrated those two into Search V2. Now, what we've actually done, and also the other caveat here is that we've made this change to pave the way for context, which is the new thing which I'm about to share with you in two features time. So what we've actually done here is that it's an entirely new search modal. So now instead of searching in the top bar and getting your results where your documents usually are, the full thing will kind of pop out. So you've got essentially more real estate and more ability to get deeper answers. In that search, you will also see your filtered navigation tree. So this is your left-hand navigation of documents. And what we've done with anytime you're searching, if you are getting returned a document that Waybook thinks you might be looking for, it will show that in the left-hand side. Now, I find this incredibly useful because sometimes I'm searching for a type of content or a piece of information. I don't know the specific document it lives in, but actually when I see it on the left-hand side, I'm like, oh yes, it's that one, or it's the one next to it. So I find that really, really valuable. We've also kind of decided or worked in a way that Search V2 now will intelligently decide whether you're looking for a search result or whether you're looking for an answer. And it will automatically always give you search results, but it will also give you an answer if you're looking for it. Now, if you think about how you use Google these days, when sometimes you're searching for something and actually Gemini will jump in and just give you the answer, think of that, but applied to your knowledge. Now, there's much more in that. This is available in all of your accounts, so the best way is just to have a play and see what you can do with it. But whilst we're all on the call, I would love to kind of jump in and give a bit of a click around and show what that looks like, and give you some of the kind of advanced edges that you can do with your new search. So in my trusty demo account here, you'll see that I can actually hit the search here and it will just pop out. The other thing you can do is if you just slash. So if you're anywhere within your Waybook, apart from in a document, because obviously you'll be typing, you can slash. And then you can also Command or Control F. So if you're used to doing that Command F or the slash, you can instantly get to your search at any time. So let's just slash, we're in here. Now, what's useful is instantly you'll see my previous searches. So if I'm always, coming back to the similar thing or I'm trying to get to a particular shortcut, or actually I'm between a few different documents and I'm using search for, instead of just retyping them, you can literally just kind of click in and go there. So now let me do the search, which I think I probably do 100 times a day. Let's search for those logo files again, which I'm sure many of you have seen me do. Now, within this search, what you'll see is it will give you your documents exactly in the same way it would before, but actually we've breadcrumbed where those documents are. So actually you can always see what is the kind of category, what is the subject, what is the document that document is in, and then these bits here will be the steps. So it will take you directly to that core piece of knowledge and information. Now, what you're also able to do here is if you are an editor and you have lots of draft content and you've archived content and things like that, you can actually also choose to enable draft and archives in your search results. Now, that basically means that if you're pretty sure that some version of this did live before, but you can't quite find it, hit that, get your drafts and your archives. Now, of course, for your readers who don't have edit access and don't have draft and archive, they won't see that. And then the final thing is just this left-hand navigation, as I mentioned. So this is what I found really useful, to be able to say, oh, okay, yes, this does live here. We only have one logo file because it's a well-structured Waybook, but if we had lots of different things, we would see multiple. And here we can actually toggle to either see that full tree navigation or just what's coming up in those results. So that's all well and good. And of course, I can jump into that and I'm in that document. But that's just search, right? And yes, it's better, it's faster, it does everything. But let's say if I want to ask a question about that. So I'm searching logo because I want to know, where are the logo files? So I can actually just say, where are the logo files? Now you'll notice that I'm asking a question, which means that yes, sometimes I want to read a document and answer it, but other times I just want the answer. And if Waybook knows or thinks intelligently that you are requesting an answer, it will trigger ask. So it will try and answer your question based on the information that you've given. Now, of course, you'll always get those results, but you'll see here, I'm able to then get the answer. So yes, this is the drive link of where those logos are. And I can either click on that or I can ask a follow-up question, and then that will actually start a full ask chat where I can continue to talk, I can continue to ask those follow-up questions. So you'll notice that Waybook will intelligently answer the question if it can, but still have all of that power when it comes to a search. Now, the final thing here, what we've noticed is that when you go into Ask, you can, of course, search your Waybook, and that's how most people kind of interact with their Waybook. But many of you will also know that you can switch over into the Help Center. So say, for example, if I want to know how to export as a PDF, I can search that and I can go straight to the Waybook Help Center. But now with the new Ask, what I can do is say, how can I export as a PDF? Now that actually might be something that's relevant to me as a business owner. So it will try and answer that question. And we know it's a question, so ask will kick in, and that's there. But secretly, I'm actually asking about Waybook. So what you'll see here is that I can actually then go to the to Waybook Help. So instead of choosing where you're trying to get that information from before, you ask the question and then you tab across. You'll see how many results you're getting for each. And then, of course, you can either click on that, and I'll create that as a new tab. You can either click on that document there, or again, you can look at the ask answer. This exactly tells you how to do it. And if you want follow-up questions, you can dive into those follow-up questions. If you didn't know that you can use Waybook Search or Waybook Ask through the Help Center as well, then that will actually take you directly into our Help Center with all of the videos, the images, everything you need in order to answer your question. So, without further ado, that is our Search V2. We're really excited about it. We've had lots of positive feedback from it. Please do have a go, have a play with it in your Waybook. If you've got any thoughts, if you've got any feedback, we always love to hear from you. So please do get in touch. Okay, Here we are, number three, the third thing I'm excited to bring with you today, and also the only thing that's stopping us from sharing context with you, which is obviously the main reason why we're all here, even if you didn't know it, is an optimization for the review process and the approval cycle. So you will know, for the regular watchers amongst you, the regular attendees amongst you, you'll know that over the last few months, we've done an overhaul of the review process. So you can really easily get other people to review documents, record that against the versions that you have as you're editing and optimizing your content. And also for those particularly sensitive documents, you can run them through a full approval cycle to make sure that people have the right sign off, the right level of compliance before we're disseminating new information to our teams. But what we wanted to do, and this came from feedback from a couple of teams, so thank you so much for that. In order to ease that creation for compliance, we wanted to connect those two systems together. So now you have the ability to combine both the review process and the approval cycle, and that will automatically manage everything, track it all for compliance. And that is available in all of your teams as well. So that's available in your document settings to turn it on. And then once that approval cycle is on for the document, it will be easy to trigger instead of publish. Now, remember, approval cycle is a pro feature. It actually is a very pro feature, so it's not necessary for many documents. So that is available in pro accounts. Let me just jump back into this account and give you a bit of a view. So let's say we jump onto this purpose and background, and we'll head over into the edit mode. So now this doesn't have an approval process on, so we can make a change. It will auto save, as we know, and then I can either publish because I have publish permission, but if I only had edit permission, I can then request a review. And that request review, I can literally add one, two, three, multiple people, ask for the note in terms of how to do that review. And once I request that review, we'll see that it's in an open review. Hermione will get that notification, and then I can open the review, see what state it's in. Hermione can look at it and do the responses and request, cancel, whatever that may be. So if I cancel that review, now what we can also do is we can turn on the approval cycle. So if we turn on the approval process, here we can decide who does what stage of that process. And this can be your HR, your legal, your second drafters, whatever that may be. If we save that process, we'll now see that actually instead of publishing, we have to submit that for review because that document needs reviewing. So as we submit it for review, we can add any additional notes if we want. And then once it's in that review cycle, we see the diff view, so we know what's changed. This has actually come to me because I'm the first person in that process. So I can look at it, I can review it, I can add any feedback. I can either reject it and pass it back, or I can approve it and pass it forward. So now we can actually see that this is in an approval request. Now, the one change that has happened here is that we now have the ability to combine those two. So say, for example, before we get to approval and we push it through those relevant things, we actually want to request a review. You can now do those simultaneously. So you can now add somebody in to review the document, have it in the review state, and then you can push that through into the approval process. So I hope putting these in this two-way gives you a better understanding of how they work together. Essentially, the review process is very much more for your kind of casual reviews, your sign-offs from one person, or perhaps a way of editing between it. And the approval process is very much more for your like more serious compliant tracked documents. Okay. If you've got any thoughts or questions, please do let me know. Jen, I can see you woohooing in the chat. So yeah, I'm pleased that one struck a chord with you there. Okay, right. Next, the big one. Sorry, we've got one last question before I move on. Aaron, thanks for that. Are there any changes with who has permissions to review? Do reviewers still need to be part of the review group? So yes, you will, in order for somebody to see an unpublished version of that document, they will need to have edit access to that document. But of course, they can just be edit and not have the publish access. And you can also remember in the permissions, you can give someone edit access just to that one document rather than the whole subject as well. So the way that might work is you can create a member group That member group might be, let's just go clinicians. This is obviously a random group. And then say, for example, we wanted them to just have edit access to that one document. You can enable that on. So obviously this is set up from a group's perspective. So you might have a department that has the edit access on individual documents. Or if you wanted to just add an individual user to it, you can, of course, go to that one member and you can do a manual override on that member and say, look, we want that person to just have edit access to that document. The final way, remember with Waybook, you can always get to your permissions from either way, from the document or from the people. It actually means if you go into your settings, you go into your access, then you can actually see what groups have permission and who is individually on that. We always recommend creating your permissions at a group level because it just means that it scales and you don't need to keep on thinking about it. But if you really wanted to override and say, okay, we really need Gemma just to be able to read that, and it's read only there because she's only a reader, you can override that on an individual. Side note, any overrides on any of these, you'll be able to just see them next to that user. Cool. Okay, thank you. Right, let's jump back in. Let's jump back in because the final thing I'm going to show you here is context. Now, context is something that I'm super excited about. What we're going to show you here is the very first part of context, and we have a lot more coming soon. This is actually tested and ready to start rolling out to accounts, and we're literally there's going to be weekly updates on this over the next couple of months. So basically, the reason why we want to do context is because Waybook is your single source of truth for your team. We know this. It's your knowledge, your systems, your policies, your procedures. That means that your team can be onboarded, trained, and have them as that point of reference. But what we've noticed is that there is a world where we have so much information in our knowledge, in our world. There's so much information about the business. And sometimes it's just not ready to become part of our Waybook. It's not ready to become part of our single source of truth, but it's actually still really useful and should be part of the context of our organization. You hopefully can see where I'm going here. So if you think about your Waybook as where information becomes knowledge, where we want Waybook to be focused is for you to be able to add as much context in, and then between you and Waybook, that will then assimilate itself into the knowledge, into the documents within your Waybook that then can be used for your more structured onboarding training and your single source of truth. So we want to also do this to increase the ease and the speed of creating that knowledge and sharing that knowledge. So sometimes we know we have I've just had a great chat on Zoom with somebody about how we do expenses. I don't have the time to create an expense policy yet. I just want to dump that into my context. So the next time someone asks the question, they can see that information as well. So what this actually is, let's have a look. I'm gonna just show you. So if I share back my screen here, so in a standard Waybook dash, you'll see here that I have a new area called context. And if I go into the context here, this is a blank context file. So there's nothing in here. The important thing to note is where Waybook is where information becomes knowledge. That basically means the information in your context is separate to your knowledge. So you still will want to turn your information from your context into your knowledge, but it can live here before we have that. Now, what we can do is we can upload a few files. So these can be, Word documents, PDFs, like whatever you want. So I'm actually just going to drop in. I've got a bit of a step-by-step on how we create posts in social media. And actually, before I do that, let me just show you if I was to search for expenses now. This Waybook doesn't have anything about expenses. This is the before. And I could have done something similar with the social media post. So we upload these files. Let me just drop this other file in here. Now, instantly, Waybook will process that insight for you, process that context. It will also then generate you a description. So this document here, it's a standard operating procedure for creating, scheduling, and scheduling social media posts with stock imagery from Hopper HQ. Now this one, this is automatically done, a transcript of a conversation explaining expense claim policies and procedures at Studio 6. Now this is about a 15-minute conversation where It's all natural language. So if I kind of click in this, you can see it. It's all natural language. Someone asking about, I want to get some clarity around this. How do I do that? What about if I order a coffee? What about this? So it's fully natural language. Now, once you've added that context in, everything is private to you as an individual. So you can have your context and it won't go to the rest of the business. But if I'm now ready to say, actually, the other admins need this context because we want to start generating documents from it, I can just drag and drop that into the kind of admin group. Similarly, I'm on all files here. Similarly, I can kind of add this to the everyone group. So that now means anybody, our readers, everyone else can search and get access to that context as well. So that's how we start. That's how we kind of just put all of that context in. But what do we do with it? I hear you say. So imagine now we're coming back, we're looking around, and I'm basically want to ask that question about expense. So let me just search for expense again. Now, we don't have any knowledge. We don't have any confirmed SOPs, policies, or procedures, but we certainly do have context. And instantly, we're able to get access to that information. Now, where this becomes really useful is I can now start to ask questions about that context. So if I jump in here and say, how can I create how can I file my expenses? Actually, so I might need to do that on that other search. What you'll notice here, sorry, how can I file my expenses? What you'll notice here is that that will take me to that context. And as well as actually telling me the document to look at, it will then answer that information for me. So I need to get the pre-approval. I need to ensure they're work related, stay within the £25 limit, and include all the receipts when doing the submitting the claim. So if you've got any information that you want people to interact with, as soon as you just drop it into your Waybook, it will automatically extract that information. And the way this works is it doesn't have to be neat documents. Waybook will understand the context of your context and be able to pull different insights from different things to give your team really good answers. So that is the very initial structure of what context is. If you're wondering why it didn't come up when I searched there, it's because that ask is only looking at my documents. It's in my knowledge. Whereas actually this other question, I'm able to look at context. Waybook will always make the distinction between what is context, so almost unverified information, and what is knowledge that you have confirmed as part of your onboarding. Now, the second part of this, which will be coming very soon, is we will now be able to select these files or multiple versions of these files, and then we will easily be able to turn that into documents. So say if we've got a few things on expenses, what we can do is say, right, we've got this chat between Mike and Liz, we've got this, actual expense form, we've got whatever else. Very soon, and I don't have it on this because the team were worried I would show you too early. You would then be able to convert that into a document, and it will automatically generate you either an SOP, a policy, a procedure, anything from the context that you've created. So that is the beginnings of context. We are so excited about everything else that's coming soon. And I hope that kind of gives you a bit of an idea of how you can turn your information into knowledge in a really easy format. Now, whilst I have you here, the last two things that I would love to show you are on that specific creation of content. You don't have to wait for that new version of context to come out. If, for example, we wanted to look at this expense procedure, and we wanted to create an expense procedure from that core piece of knowledge or information. If you've got that transcript, what you can do is you can actually then use our AI creator. So I can say, write an expense procedure based on this transcript. And if I just kind of copy and paste the transcript from that file that I attached, what Waybook will do is it will actually understand that natural language, and then it will just create out that document for that expense procedure, or for the expense policy or whatever you ask it for. Now, here we've got how we do it, what our claimable expenses are, what our submission process is, and the important guidelines. So instantly, we can turn just a conversation into procedures. And the other part of this is even if you've got videos from, many years ago or whatever that may be, pulling the transcripts and putting them into that AI creator will actually start to generate that out. Now, the final thing, and I'm sure many of you know this, but if you then wanted to turn that information or that knowledge into training material, you can, of course, add tests to it. And one of my favorite features in Waybook is actually the AI test creator. So once you hit that button, Waybook will read the document, prioritize the most important things to test your team on, and then actually just ask you questions. So here we've now got these 5 multiple choice questions based on the information within that. And if I publish that, it now means that I've turned a conversation into a procedure with the guideline policy, with the information on testing it, and then within that, it's turned that into material which can be tested and becomes part of your single source of truth. So, without further ado, I am going to head back to my slides here and give you a bit of a snap insight of what's coming next. We have lots in the pipeline, and we're really excited about it. We are doing a lot more with the AI file generation from a context perspective. We're doing more things with tests. We're doing more things with kind of reports and analytics. So there's a huge amount more that's coming to your Waybook. But the important thing is, as many of you will know, is we love to hear from you. We love to speak to you. So if you do have any thoughts, any feedback, any requests, please do get in touch. And we're always excited to get more in order for us to give more back to you. So without further ado, I'd like to thank you all so much for joining today's session. If you do have any other thoughts or questions, please do feel free to put them in the chat or in the Q&A. If I don't have the pleasure of seeing you on this side of the year, I hope you have an amazing holiday period and a fantastic start to 2025. And I cannot wait to continue to enjoy some smooth scaling with you all on the other side of it. So if you don't have questions, feel free to peel away now. That's absolutely fine. I am sticking around for a couple of the questions which I've just seen coming in. So thank you very much for that. So Emily, with the next iteration of context, does that mean you could take a long PDF, like 30 pages, and Waybook can turn that into Waybook documentation? Yes, Emily, that is exactly what Waybook will be able to do. You can just dump your context in. You can decide what documents you want to create from it. The next iteration, which isn't far away at all, is Waybook will be able to, based on the knowledge of your business. So we might know that you're a logistics company or you're an ice cream shop, whatever that may be. We will know what structure you should have, and we know what context you've got, and we'll just suggest, look, based on these conversations you've had, the information you've had, this PDF, we think this is your brand guidelines. Do you accept that? Do you approve that? So yeah, absolutely. That is very much in the pipeline and is coming soon. So almost nobody left when I said that. Another question coming in: how can I hire a Waybook representative to help set up your Waybook for you? That's fully available. So actually, if you wanted any support, you will always have an account manager. The account manager is fully accessible and available to help you get the best out of your Waybook. So helping you create a structure. What does good look like for your documentation? How can you manage your team members? And they're available for any conversation, training, things like that. As soon as you want us to do it for you, you can absolutely do that. And that's in our kind of migration or consulting services. So we actually have a full-time team of Waybook consultants and also migration experts. And in that scenario, the line there is you literally just give it to us, tell us what you want, and someone will figure it out and create your Waybook, hand it back to your team, ready to go and ready to continue to scale and grow. You've come through as anonymous attendee on that Q&A. So if you did want a question, if you did want to have that question or that conversation, just drop a message into support, and someone will be able to schedule you a call and give you the information that you need. So if there's any other questions, I am all ears. But without further ado, we'll call that a wrap for today. So thank you all so much once again. I really love seeing the familiar names and faces. So thank you so much for joining, and thank you so much for staying as involved as you do throughout our sessions as well. So if you have any other thoughts or questions, please do let me know. And in the meantime, wish you the very best of luck, and we look forward to continuing to grow with you. Thanks a lot and have a great one. Take care now.